Recording starting. Well, welcome everyone. We are so excited to have you here with us tonight. And we really appreciate your patience as we work through some real difficult technical problems here tonight. But by hook or by crook, we were going to bring this class to you tonight and we managed to pull it off. I am so pleased and proud to have the opportunity to have all of you here. You are here because you're part of one of the best organizations in the company. I am so pleased to always have the opportunity to network with my peers. And this group that has been together for quite some time, really, they're all special and they're all really amazing in and of themselves. We are joined by the Barber team. We are joined by the Carr team. We have McDonald's, the McMillan team, and the Stukowski team. And all of the leaders are with us too. We are bringing you an amazing demonstration this evening. 5 of the 6 of this peer group was able to be together at Lake Austin Spa in May. And we had the privilege of watching Susie live. And we fell in love with her immediately. And she actually made this recipe. This was one of the 2 that she made while we were there with her. And you guys are just in for an amazing treat because, you know, she's not only going to bring you a great recipe, but she's going to give you some amazing tips, some of which I'm using most recently in my own cooking, even without just doing the pad thai. But let me give you a little bit of background about Chef Susie. Prior to completing the professional culinary program at the Escoffier School of Culinary Arts in Austin, Susie earned a Bachelor of Science degree in biology from the University of California. And then she also got her nutrition certificate from Stanford Center at the University of Stanford in health education. She decided that she was going to pursue a longtime passion for the culinary arts. And that led to a position as the culinary instructor at Lake Austin Spa. And she's also had the privilege of working at the teaching kitchen at Google, which is in Austin, Texas as well. Susie has prepared food for a lot of people, but some of the most noted would be Michelle Obama. And she was also the chef support for Camila Alves and Sandra Gutierrez. And one of the things that I particularly love about Susie is she also has a very philanthropic heart. She is a servant leader in her community. She helps by volunteering at the Community First Village. And she also founded the North Austin chapter of the National Charity League in Austin, Texas. So she is an amazing person. She's got a big heart. And I know that she's going to bring you some really amazing tips as she starts tonight. And we're going to ask one quick thing of you. If you do have a question for Chef Susie, please put it in the Q&A panel. That's where we will go back to when she's finished, and we can address your questions there. So use that Q&A panel. And Susie, we're going to turn it over and let you take it away.
Thank you so much for having me, ladies. I'm so excited to present this demonstration of pad thai to you. It is one of my favorite recipes. It's my family's favorite recipe. And what I love about it is that it really follows my philosophy. It renews everything. I reuse everything. It's a stir fry that you don't have to waste anything in your refrigerator. I'm also a root to stem person. I like to use the entire component of all the vegetables that I use. And in this particular recipe, I get that opportunity to use it. I often tell my students when I'm teaching pad thai that, you know, pad thai is a great recipe to have at the middle or end of the week. Why? Because you can go to your pantry and to your refrigerator, look at all these small portions that you may have, a little bit of leftover asparagus, a little bit of leftover of Brussels sprouts, maybe a half of a bell pepper. And you can bring all these vegetables together and you can make a wonderful meal that feeds 4 to 6 people. It'll be a complete meal instead of small little separate half meals. So this is a great way to utilize whatever you have in your refrigerator that's left over. I'm also going to talk to you a little bit about the pad thai sauce. The pad thai sauce in the recipe that I sent to you is for only 1 serving. I would highly recommend that you do 2 of the recipe for the pad thai sauce. Reason being is you can always reserve the rest in a small mason jar in your refrigerator, and that'll give you a lead or a head start for preparing the pad thai once again, sometimes 6 months down the line. But it helps you because the rice noodles we're working with and the vegetables, depending on what you're using, you may require a little bit more sauce. So it's always nice to make it ahead of time. When I teach, I try to bring in at least one thing, just one thing that you take away to make your cooking experience fun, more efficient, and easy. And so if you have any questions, please ask me. And I hope you do take that one thing. And if you need me to clarify anything, please ask, because I will certainly do that. So we are going to get started with my favorite dish. And we're going to start with basic knife skills. So I'm going to take out my chef's knife. And I want to talk about the anatomy of the knife. First, with our knife, we have the spine of our knife. We have the blade of our knife, and then you have the handle or the butt end of the knife. And when you use your knife, you want to take your pointer finger and your thumb, and you want to pinch the neck of your knife. And with your 3 remaining fingers, you want to grip, pinch and grip. Try to get away if you are into the habit of putting your pointer finger on the spine of the knife. Try to get away from that, because what that does, it does 2 things. A, it creates instability, which can cause injury, or it could hurt the integrity of whatever you're preparing, whether it's a nice protein or a beautiful vegetable like this bell pepper. So if you practice this technique, I promise you, you will become more efficient and faster in the kitchen. So when I pinch and grip my knife, with my non-dominant hand, I'm going to curl it like a claw. And when I do that, what happens is when I slice and dice, if you can hear that, I'm actually tapping my knuckle. And what this does is 2 things. A, it prevents injury from me cutting myself because my knife is very sharp. And B, it protects my manicure. So that's really important, ladies. That's priority, just saying. Manicure. Let's talk about maintenance and how to keep your knife. Your knife is an investment, just like a beautiful purse or a beautiful dress you may have. You don't just keep it on the floor. You take care of it. You put it up on a hanger. You put it on a shelf. Your knife is the same way. So when you use your knife, you want to make sure you hand wash your knife and dry it, and then put it back in its protective sleeve. And whether it's in a drawer or on a countertop, it'll prevent the knife from actually becoming dull. Your blade that we talked about on the anatomy of the knife looks like a shark's fin. And every time you use it, your steel starts splitting, and that becomes dull. That's what dulls your knife. So what I like to do with every other recipe or every other meal that I prepare, I like to maintain the sharpness of my knife by using a honing rod. So with a honing rod, I get my knife and I go from 90, 45, 22 degrees. At 22 degrees, I go base to tip. And if I do 3 counts on one side, I'm going to do 3 counts on the other side. And that's going to bring my split blade back to my shark's fin, which is going to keep my knife sharp and intact. And it's going to help me become more efficient in my kitchen. So that's just Knife Skills 101 when we start cooking. I'm going to put my knife right there. So I want to talk about your recipe. When I look at a recipe, I like to read through everything because I only use my recipe as a template. If I don't have all the ingredients in my pantry to make my pad thai sauce, I don't want to get upset or freak out and say, I'm not going to make this recipe and I'm intimidated, or I have to go to the grocery store and become exhausted by the time I want to make my meal. I want to be able to say, okay, what do I have as an alternative? What can I use to substitute? And I do that by looking at my ingredient list. I look at what my instructions tell me, and then I'm able to determine if I need to substitute any of my ingredients, or if I can combine my chopping skills for one sauce versus the meal. Like they'll say a half an onion for the sauce, a half an onion for the meal, then I would cut it all at one time. It helps me become more organized and prepared, And then I know that I have everything I need to make a complete meal that's going to be delicious for my loved ones. So that's another tip. So let's get started. First, we're going to talk about our ingredient list. For our pad thai sauce, I'm going to be using soy sauce. This is tamari. It's gluten-free, and I do 50% less sodium because what I like to do is control my sodium content. If you were to go to a Thai restaurant and order pad thai off the menu, that is going to be one of the entrees that has the most sodium content. So when I prepare it at home, I really want to make sure I'm maintaining the lower sodium content for this menu. So that's why I'm using 50% less, and it's a tamari. So mine's gluten-free, but you could use regular soy sauce, and they do have the option of reduced sodium. Fish sauce. I have fish sauce, but what happens if you don't have fish sauce? Alternative would be Worcestershire sauce. Both sauces are made with anchovy paste, so it's a great thing to use. Do you have to use fish sauce or Worcestershire sauce if you have a seafood or fish allergy or sensitivity? No, you don't have to use it. You can omit it, and you can substitute by adding a little bit more soy sauce with your vinegar, and that'll be a beautiful pad thai sauce as well. So if you do have a sensitivity or an allergy, don't worry, we can work around that. Today I'm using rice vinegar. You can use distilled vinegar or apple cider vinegar. It doesn't matter. However, I would stay away from the flavored vinegars like the balsamic, because that would interrupt the profile of the pad thai sauce that we're trying to create. Tamarind paste. This is a tamarind concentrate. Now you can get this at your local grocery store in the international aisle, at an international market, or you can get it on Amazon. Really super easy. It comes, for me, it came the next day. It's a great thing to have. What is tamarind paste? Well, this is a tamarind pod. And if you remove the outer shell, you're going to see that it's going to be this texture. And the texture almost feels like a fruit roll-up. And what they do is they take that texture, the fruit roll-up, the pulp of the tamarind pod, remove the seed. The seed is extremely hard. You can't bite into the seed. Put it in warm water, and then they puree it either into a paste or concentrate. So mine's a concentrate, which means I have a little bit more liquid to make it more of like a ranch dressing consistency or viscosity of a ranch dressing. Tamarind paste. What do you do with tamarind? Is it only a one recipe ingredient? No. Oh my gosh, tamarind paste can be used for so much. Tamarind can be, it tastes like almost like dried fruit of like an apricot or maybe a date, but it has like a citrus aftertaste, like a little, you can taste it at the back of your throat once you've actually eaten it, and it has that pop of citrus at the end. So how can you use tamarind? You can make a tamarind whiskey sour, a really cool, nice fall winter cocktail. You can add a little bit of tamarind in your chili that you're making at home. You can combine it as part of a rub for your meat, or add it to your chutney, because once again, it has a fruit flavor profile with a little bit of citrus. So that would be great in anything that you use. So don't be intimidated to try to use these in other recipes. The tamarind's a great asset to have. It also gives you that question like, what am I tasting there? It tastes really good. And it's that secret ingredient that just polishes off your meal. On top of that, I'm going to use sugar because I want to balance all the acids that I have. What happens if you don't want to use granulated sugar? You can use agave, you can use honey, you can use stevia. But when you're choosing to use the alternative substitutes, do a little bit at a time. Don't go with the full recipe amount, because you want to be able to balance that flavor and make it too sweet too quickly. So you can always add more sweetness. It's harder to take away. So just be cautious with your granulated sugar or sugar substitute. And then I'm using tomato paste. So let's get started with our pad thai sauce. So I've already pre-measured this for the sake of the demonstration, but I wanted to talk about the recipe states ounces. 2 ounces of soy sauce, 2 ounces of fish sauce. What does that mean? Do you always have to use a scale? Do you want to use a scale? Are you in a rush? How can I make that more efficient? What is my shortcut? My shortcut would be using 2 tablespoons to 1 ounce. That's the equivalent. It's slightly off, but overall for the entire recipe, it is a great tip to know that if I need to know what 1 ounce is for a fluid, it's going to be 2 tablespoons. So because I have doubled my recipe, here for my soy sauce, I have about 3 I'm going to cut it down a little bit to 3 ounces of my soy sauce. I have 4 ounces of my fish sauce. I have 4 ounces of my rice wine vinegar, my tamarind, 2 teaspoons of my tamarind. Now you can get a tamarind that actually says sweet and sour, and it's a little bit a different color. It might be a little bit lighter. It all depends on the brand you use. I really like the brand I like because the one I buy is because I like the deep color, and it brings a really nice color to my overall pad thai dish when it's complete. My sugar, and I'm only using about, instead of 4 tablespoons, I'm starting off with 3. So I can taste my profile as I go, and I could always add more if I need it. And my tomato paste. Now, the important thing about the tomato paste is to make sure you fully incorporate the paste, because what it's going to do, it's going to actually float in pieces, and you want to incorporate it before you add it to your stir fry. So if you can see that, here's my sauce, my pad thai sauce. Let me see, it's going to fall out. And I'm just going to whip that together. What happens if you don't want to whip? Mason jar. A mason jar is a great thing to have. You put everything in the mason jar, you shake, 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 and then whatever remains, you can leave it in the refrigerator for up to 6 months, the pad thai sauce. And I want to clarify, that's pad thai sauce. Somebody actually had a student said, you can keep the whole pad thai in a mason jar for 6 months. What about the noodles? Is something going to happen in the noodles? I'm like, no, not the noodles, just the pad thai sauce that can be in the mason jar. It would be a very big mason jar to keep the whole entire recipe in there. So just want to clarify that. And when you're whisking, you don't want to use your entire elbow, your entire wrist. You're going to be exhausted. What you want to do is just go back and forth, sort of be like a figure eight, and then circle. And that would be great that's a great tip for baking when you're doing an egg mixture, a custard, a creme anglaise. So I have my pad thai sauce. It's all prepared. I'm going to taste it. Make sure I have a nice flavor balance with the sweetness and my acids. It's amazing. I did again, ladies. I can't tell you. This is amazing. So excited about this. How do I make this pad thai sauce just 1 notch better than what it already is? I like to add the zest of a lime. It's that brightness note. It's that oil that comes out of it that just brings that pop of flavor and brightness and clean taste to the pad thai sauce. So I take my microwave and I invert it. So I have the ends turned in upward. And I'm just going to do a count of 3. 1, 2, 3, rotate. 1, 2, 3, rotate. Not using a lot of pressure, because what I don't want is the white pith. The pith is the bitterness. I want the essence of the oil from the zest. And depending on how you like your lime flavor, you can use an entire lime or you can use a half a lime. For this particular recipe, I'm pretty much going to use this whole lime because it's really small. So, and see how it accumulates nicely on my microplane? And then I just tap it in there and then mix it in. All right, that's our pad thai sauce. That's 50% of the meal. It's amazing. Let's talk about our noodles. So I have here my bowl. I have rice noodles. Rice noodles, they're gluten-free. What happens if you don't have rice noodles? Go with spaghetti. Spaghetti is another great option. What happens if you don't want to have a lot of carb in your diet? Go for the vegetable noodles, the zucchini noodles. There's so many options you can use. I just found a brand new noodle called Healthy Noodles at Costco. It has 6 grams of carb. It's a soy-based noodle. It's delicious. And I've used it in pad thai. It is just like spaghetti. It's wonderful. So you can do 2 things. You can follow the instructions on the box, bring the water to a boil, add a little salt, let it sit in the boiling water for like 6 to 7 minutes, take it out, strain it. Or You can use the noodles, take it out. Put it in your bowl. Separate them just a little bit. And then what I have done is I have pre-boiled hot water in my pan, in my pot. And I'm going to pour my hot water into my bowl with my noodles. And I'm gonna allow my noodles to sit as I'm preparing my stir fry. Why am I using this technique? Because I don't want to become distracted. And if I am a minute or two over, my noodles are so delicate, my rice noodles, they're going to become smaller. They're going to become a little bit sticky and clumped together. I want nice, beautiful, long noodles that are going to be separate and they're going to hold their texture. So this is a way for me to control it because it's going to naturally cook at the temperature of the water. And as it cools, it'll keep cooking and it'll become the texture that I need for my pad thai. So I'm just pouring it. And how much water is it, ladies? It's just enough to submerge my noodles. I don't want my rice noodles actually being exposed to air because then I'm going to have some hard, crispy noodles. I want them all submerged under the water so they all cook at the same rate. Cooking is all about time and temperature. So I'm cooking my noodles for a certain period of time, the amount of time of my stir fry, in the temperature of this hot water. So I want to make sure everything is submerged in my hot water. And then I'm just going to keep it to the side. All right. So I have my beautiful cutting board here. We're going to start with some bell peppers. My vegetables that I selected today, I have some beautiful bell peppers. I have some red, green, and yellow bell pepper. I have an onion. I have garlic. And I have some broccoli. So what I'm going to do is make some recommendations for vegetables. What else can you use? Asparagus. You can use mushrooms, shiitake, portobello, white button mushrooms. Amazing. You can use little baby carrots that you have in a can. That would be great too. Snow peas. That would be amazing. Anything, everything is wonderful for this dish because really what pad thai is a stir fry. It's just a simple stir fry. So that's what makes this dish so unique and fun. So let's talk about our cutting skills. Here we go. So with my hand, with my pointer finger and my thumb, take my knife, pinch it, grip, curl my hand over. And because vegetables are not naturally round, they come in all shapes and sizes. I want to make sure I create stability because this rolls around and I don't want my knife to just accidentally become flexible and cut myself. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut the stem portion of my bell pepper, pinch and grip, curl. And now I have a stable vegetable that I can cut with. Can you see that? Is it okay? Is it coming out clear? How's that? Let me see. Sorry. Yeah. And then I'm going to take my hand on either side of my bell pepper and cut it in half. So because yes,
it needs to go down just a little bit.
Go down just a little bit.
I can't see it.
All right.
Please. That looks
Sorry
great.
for the technical. Okay, great. Okay.
Good.
How's that? Is that better?
Perfect. Oh,
now is it coming back to me? Let me go back. Let's see here.
No, it got smaller again.
It got smaller again?
Yep.
Let's see if it readjusts here. Hold on. How's that?
Just barely see it. You can just barely see the board.
Give me 1 second. I'll try to fix this. Hold on.
We'll have to ask her about, she has a camera that follows her. So for all of us that do online ones, it would be great to find out what that is.
All right. Voila. Sorry. Thank you for your patience. All right. So with the bottom end of my bell pepper, I'm also going to cut that off as well. Now, I am going to, this is my compost bowl. I keep all my clippings in here, and if I want to compost it, I can, but otherwise it keeps my station very clean of all the things that I need to discard. So I'm going to discard my seeds. Because I'm a root to stem person, I'm going to use everything on my vegetable, including the membrane on my bell pepper. Why? Because when I saute it and I stir fry it, you're not going to taste it. It's not going to have a bitter taste. It's just going to blend in and cook beautifully with the bell pepper. Now, if I was using this for a presentation for a beautiful veggie platter, yeah, then that's when I would cut away the membrane so I have beautiful matchsticks for that veggie platter. So now that I have my panels, I'm just going to cut them into quarters. Take my finger, pinch and grip, curl my knuckles, and I'm just going to do a matchstick or a julienne cut going from tip to base, tip to base. I'm not sawing, I'm not chopping. It's going to be a smooth cut, tip to base. So I'm going to curl my fingers and go tip to base and move my left hand accordingly so I can get a nice size slice, matchstick or julienne, whatever you'd like to call it. And I'm trying to make sure that they are all pretty much of equal size, because once again, ladies, cooking is all about time and temperature. So if we have the same size approximately for our vegetables, everything should cook at the same rate. And I always give this example. If you have a small diced onion and a large diced onion and you're sauteing it to this wonderful, beautiful golden brown color, which onion would cook faster? It would be the smaller onion. And that would burn and that would create the bitter taste in your food. So if you have everything pretty much cut to the same size, it's all going to be cut, it's all going to cook at the same rate. And that's our goal. Because I'm a root to stem person and I buy organic is very expensive. I want to make sure I use everything from my vegetables. So I'm basically just going to cut around my stem so I can use it in my stir fry. It's a little bit shorter, but the thickness is pretty much the same. Same as my bottoms, just cut those into julienne cut. And then I'm going to put it in my veggie bowl to combine everything. All right, let's go to our onion. Let's talk about our onion. So I'm going to show you a technique just for dicing, which we will not use for the pad thai today, but it's a nice skill to have. For the pad thai dish, I'm going to use another half of my onion and do slices. So for my onion, I have my bearded end and I have my pointy end. So I'm going to cut off my pointy end because once again, this rolls and I don't want it to roll. I want to have a stable piece of vegetable that's going to help me prevent injury. So I'm going to pinch and grip, claw my hand, cut the end off, discard it. And now I have a vegetable that's sturdy. Once again, just like my bell pepper, I'm going to cut it in half, 2 halves. Remove my skin. And what I have on my onion is a natural template, lines, striations coming from my, oops, you didn't see that, coming from my onion. In my mind's eye, at that bearded end, I'm going to make an imaginary line, a half the circumference, just around the tip of that bearded end. And what that's going to tell me is that my tip of my knife will not pass that imaginary end when I'm slicing this. And what that's going to do is create a fan for me. So when I dice my vegetable, my onion slices won't be falling apart, falling off. It's all going to be interconnected by the root, the bearded end. So here's my imaginary line. There are my striations. I'm going to take the tip of my knife, pinch and grip, and I'm just going to follow those lines naturally. Just make these lines. Slice. I'm moving my left hand accordingly to get out of the way so I can cut around it. And because I did not pass that imaginary line, I have a fan. Can you see the fan separate? It's all connected. So I'm going to turn my onion so it's horizontal to me, pinch and grip, and I'm going to dice it. And I have now equal dices of that onion that in theory should cook all at the same time, same temperature. Great way to dice an onion. Very quick, very efficient. Leave that there. But for my presentation today, we're going to have slices because I like the slices in a stir fry. So pinch and grip. And I'm just going to go tip to base, tip to base. Moving my left hand back accordingly, all the way to the tip of the onion. And I'm going to discard the bearded end. Put that in my beautiful bowl. All right, let me put this right there. Move my onion. When you're dicing, and if you want to mince your onion to make it really small, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my spine of my knife to gather my vegetables and not my blade, because once again, if I do that, my blade will split. I want to maintain the integrity of my edge. So I'm going to use my spine and put it in my jar. All right, now we're going to go to my best secret, creaming the garlic. What does that mean? Well, creaming the garlic is one step that gives you that extra sense of like flavor. It releases the oils from the garlic. It helps remove that bitterness or that bite you get from a fresh garlic, that raw garlic. So because I love garlic, I'm going to be using about 3 cloves of garlic. I'm going to take my garlic skin remover and just roll it. So it comes off. Do that again. There we go. Sorry. There we go. Oh, look at that. Beautiful. That's gorgeous. I love it. Amazing. Super fast, efficient. Again. Now, the important thing to note when you're creaming the garlic is that you have to use salt. And once again, my go-to salt is the kosher salt because it has large granulars. And what I'll be using the garlic is the salt with the garlic is as friction. So when I'm starting to cream my garlic, the salt is going to help me break down my fibers and release the oil from the garlic to be used in our pad thai. Another great way to use cream garlic, pasta. Did you have a question? No? Okay.
Have you move the camera down again? Sorry.
Oh, damn. Okay, sorry.
Or move back. Yeah.
Let me move it.
Cool.
Well, it's my portal, and sometimes it has a mind of its own. So let me see. There we go. Did it work? How's that? No, it's not working. Give me 1 second, please.
Look how pretty her counter looks with all that good, colorful food on it.
Thank you. How's that?
And that's perfect for right now.
Yes, thank you. Please let me know if it happens again. So I'm going to get a pinch of my salt, put it down here on my cutting board. Take my discards, put that in my trash so I always have a clean area. I'm going to take my garlic press to help me start it out. So I want to start them out already small. So it makes it easier for me to cream my garlic. Oh, that's going to be great. That's going to be wonderful, actually. That's really good. I think I'm going to stop with that because I had such big cloves. That's great. Okay. So the idea behind creaming the garlic, I'm going to take this portion of the blade, the tip of the blade, and I'm going to use it as, I'm going to put pressure in a rocking motion. Edge to spine, edge to spine. I'm going to be rocking it on top of the kosher salt. And what it's going to do is create a paste, almost like what you would get from a tube of garlic paste. But what I'm smelling, oh my gosh, is the garlic, the oil's being released. Physically, the garlic's changing in color. It's becoming a little bit more transparent. You can determine how much texture you want to leave the garlic to have. If you want a little bit of the fibers, or if you just want it to be a complete paste, that'll be up to you. But here it is. This is what creaming the garlic does. Can you see that? Great on garlic bread with some nice kosher salt, a beautiful Kerrygold butter, fresh pasta. That would be another alternative to use it. Just a great way to take that bite out too. So I'm going to put my fresh garlic in a jar and I'm going to keep it to the side. All right, so we've done that. This is my favorite trick. So what I like to do, so I have my cutting board. It's clean because I've only used it for vegetables. What I did was I put some wet paper towels, or you can use a tea towel, a wet tea towel, and you can flip over your cutting board. I now have a clean surface. I like to use the beveled edge of my cutting board because if I do have meats releasing, proteins releasing their juice, it is captured in the side. So I keep it, I flip it over, and what that does, it helps me prevent cross-contamination between raw protein and fresh vegetables. So now I have my clean cutting board, which I'm going to be cutting my chicken. So I have chicken thighs. You can use chicken breasts, you can use chicken tenders, whatever you like. I like to look at my chicken and I want to say, okay, I want to remove the fat from my chicken. So I'll get my knife and just skim off the chicken fat, put it in your compost bowl. Make sure everything's pretty clean. Okay, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to do, once again, pinch and grip, curl my hand, and do a julienne cut. Because eventually I'm going to dice these into bite-sized dices. So you may think, what size of dice is that? In my mind's eye, I like to pick up my food in a bowl and with a spoon or a fork, put it in my mouth, and I want to chew it comfortably. So when I'm dicing my food, I'm going to be looking for what is a good comfort level for my mouth. Is it going to be very big and globbular, like a big piece of gum where I'm having to chomp it down? Or is it going to be nice and comfortable? So in my mind's eye, when I'm starting to dice, I'm going to be thinking about the size of my dice that's comfortable for my mouth. And that's when I know that I have the perfect dice. While I'm dicing my chicken, I'm going to turn my stove on for my wok and let that get heated. Heat that up. It's going to be on low. And while I'm dicing, I want to talk about oils. I'm using a vegetable oil. The oil that I prefer is grapeseed oil. I like the flavor because it's neutral. You really can't taste it. It has a high smoke point. What does that mean, high smoke point? It's that you can cook on high to high medium when you're sauteing or searing your protein to make it, I call it GBD, golden brown and delicious color. And I could do that because my oil is hot enough to sear my meat and cook my meat without smoking. Now, if I wanted to do low and slow, which is medium to medium low, and if I wanted to sweat my vegetables to make them translucent for a soup or a marinara sauce, olive oil would be great because it's going to be slow, longer time to sweat my vegetables out, lower temperature, my oil is not going to smoke, and I'm going to get the results of a beautiful vegetable for my recipe. So that's just something to think about when you're cooking with your oils. What kind of heat are you going to be using your oils for? Slow and low is olive oil. High, medium high is vegetable oil. All right, so I've cut my meat. It's there. I'm going to take a moment here, ladies. I'm going to wash my knife, wash my hands so I don't cross-contaminate. All righty, come back. So I'm going to turn up the heat. Pour my vegetable oil, which is my grapeseed oil, into my pan. Just so it covers the bottom of the pan. Just it's maybe a tablespoon that I use. I like to eyeball it. I want to talk about how do you know when your oil's ready? There will be a physical change in your oil that you will see. It'll start from the center of your pan and wave out to the sides of the pan. And it's going to be iridescent. Also, if you were tilted, you're going to see lines of the hot oil just dragging down the surface of the bottom of the pan. Sort of like when you drink red wine and the legs on the glass, you see that after you drink it. It's the same effect with the oil. It's going to be wavy, or you can see the lines, and it's perfect for you to start cooking. Or if you're not comfortable with that, add a little bit of the vegetable in there. And if it sizzles all around, your oil is perfect. Why do we want our oil to be hot? Because we want to cook our food in the oil. We don't want our food to absorb that oil. So when it's cooking, I'm going to be able to make sure that I'm not absorbing oil. I'm just utilizing it as a tool to maintain what I'm trying to do, my overall goal, that golden brown and delicious color for my protein and or my vegetables. I'm also going to be seasoning in layers. What does that mean? Our vegetables and our protein has a lot of water content in there. And what you're going to see is a lot of steam coming out. I'm going to be putting salt in there to make sure it draws out that excess water, but it's also going to be seasoning the vegetables and the protein from the inside out. It'll allow it to absorb it and flavor the vegetable with the salt and pepper. If I were to wait till my vegetables or my protein is completely cooked, then my seasoning would be on the surface layer of my food. And that's what I bite into. That's what I'm going to taste. I want the overall flavor. So let's see here. Yes. It's hot. I don't know if you can see the legs, but I see the legs. It's starting to, I can see it moving in a wave-like motion from the center out. And I'm going to pour all my vegetables in. Just do a quick stir. What I'm going to be looking for is my steam. And when I start seeing that steam being released from the top, I'm going to start adding a little bit of salt and pepper. How much salt and pepper? I'm just going to do a pinch of pepper and maybe a half a pinch of my salt, because my pad thai sauce has so much sodium already with the soy sauce and the fish sauce. So it's just going to be a light sprinkle. What am I looking for when my vegetables are ready? My broccoli is going to turn into this beautiful bright green. My vegetables, my bell peppers are going to be nice and tender, but they're not going to be so soft where they just fold over. They're going to still have a little snap to it or a little bite. My goal in this first step is to par cook my vegetables. What does that mean? Partially cook the vegetables. Because when I combine it with my protein and the sauce and the noodles, it's going to continue to cook. And then it's going to be at the right intensity, structure, and flavor that I need it to be without being overcooked. All right. So I'm going to season just a little bit with salt and pepper. That's my salt. My pepper. Could you put some cayenne pepper, red chili flakes in at this time? Yes. Or you can use sriracha at the end. So whichever you want. I prefer to use the sriracha at the end of the condiment. All right. Oh. The color's so pretty. Oh my gosh, the broccoli is beautiful. It's gonna be, oh, I love it. All right. We'll let that cook there. What I like about pad thai is that everything is in one pot in my wok. So what I'm going to be doing right now is I'm going to be getting my eggs ready. How many eggs can you use? You could use 1, 2, 3, whatever you would like. It's up to you. I'm going to be using 2 eggs. And put it in my bowl. Slightly scramble them. And I'm doing this because after I cook the protein and reincorporate my vegetables, it'll be ready. I'll move all my vegetables and protein to one side, move my pan over to the highest part of my flame, scramble my egg in there first until I get light curds. I just want light curds, and then I'll incorporate that into my protein and vegetables, and it'll be perfectly cooked egg. Oh, yeah. Can you see the colors? I mean, that's just beautiful. Look at how bright the green is. The vegetable, oh, so pretty. This is why I love cooking. It's the colors. They're just gorgeous. All right, perfect. I'm going to get my bowl. Place my vegetables back in my original bowl. Put this back on the heat. I'm going to add a little bit more oil so I can cook my protein. Take my chicken, my tongs, put it in my chicken. So I don't have to go back and clean my cutting board right away. I'm going to invert my cutting board onto my white wet napkins. It's going to be clean. Now I have a surface area of my cutting board that's great for the vegetables. Oh, I can see that it's not. Let's see here. There we go. Sorry, ladies, I don't know why it's not. Oh, there we go. We're adjusting now. So while my meat is cooking, I only want to partially cook my meat until the whole entire covering is a light golden brown color, but a little pink in the middle. I don't want to overcook it because once again, when I incorporate my vegetables back in there with my egg and my sauce, it's going to continue to cook and I won't overcook my chicken. Can you see the steam releasing? So I'm going to take a little bit of my salt and pepper so I can season it. Cook that up. I wish we had smell-o-vision so you can smell all the wonderful flavors and from the meat and the vegetables. It's awesome. This is a really quick meal. All right, so I have my eggs. I'm going to scramble them. I'm not going to season them. Going to get them ready to incorporate into my pan. I have my herbs. I'm using cilantro. I'm going to cut my cilantro just at the neck of the herb. Hold the cilantro in my hand, fold it over. Let me get my knife. And I'm going to mince my cilantro. And it's going to be used as a topping for my pad thai. Now, if I want it, because it's spreading out, I'm going to use the spine to bring it back. Once again, what's a mince? How big is the mince? A mince is so small that if you eat the food, you're not going to have a leaf on your tooth. You're not going to be embarrassed while eating your wonderful meal. Pour it on here, my plate, my serving dish. All right, clean up my station a little bit. Nuts, another garnish for my pad thai. I like to use unroasted nuts, whether it's going to be pistachios, cashews, peanuts, doesn't matter. As long as it's unroasted, just because when you roast your nuts, they add salt. That's another thing you have to worry about, that you'll have salt being contributed to an overall very high sodium sauce. So I have the cashews. I love cashews because it has a creamy, buttery consistency. I use pistachios at the resort. I love the color, and it's the wonderful crunch. It's great. Okay, my chicken is par cooked. There's a little pink in there. Golden brown, delicious. Can you see the GBD? I call it GBD. Beautiful. I'm going to push it to the side of my wok. Add my beautiful green vegetables. Incorporate it. Turn my heat back on. Incorporate it. I'm going to move everything to the side so I have a little base of my wok available for my eggs. I'm going to add my eggs. Since I have a nonstick pan, I don't need to add any more oil. I'm going to scramble my eggs just until I see those soft curds. This is gonna go really fast. After I add my eggs, this is when I'm gonna add my creamed garlic. I am waiting for my creamed garlic because it literally takes 30 seconds for that garlic to cook. I don't want it to burn. I want the oils to infuse my vegetables and my protein. So that's why I'm waiting till everything's almost cooked to add my garlic. You definitely want to scramble your eggs too before you add your sauce because your eggs won't scramble once your pad thai sauce is in there. I have my beautiful soft curds that I'm going to incorporate with the protein and vegetables. So pretty. I'm going to take my garlic, whisk, put that in there. Once again, I'm only going to wait till I can start smelling the notes of the garlic. Oh yes, it's smelling wonderful. It's delicious. So I'm going to reincorporate my pad thai sauce because my granular sugar by this time would have settled at the bottom. And what I don't want to do is have all my sugar at the bottom of my bowl. I am not going to pour the whole sauce in at one time. I'm going to gradually pour it in because what I don't want to do is have my pad thai sauce pooling at the bottom of my bowl. Like a salad you may have at a restaurant where the dressing pools. That's not what we want. We want it to have it come into a glaze so it coats the beautiful noodles. So I'm just going to pour a little bit of my sauce. I did about half the recipe. Mix it in. As that sits to thicken up, here are my noodles. Remember we talked about the noodles being long and beautiful? These noodles are beautiful. Just sitting there in hot water as I did the demonstration. I didn't have to worry about it over boiling, over cooking. It's just beautiful. And did you know you can do this with pasta as well? It'll take a little bit longer, but you can do it with noodles as well. So I'm going to take my noodle and I'm going to reserve a little bit of my water just in case I need it as a slurry to thicken my sauce. So I'm going to take my noodles. Put it in my sauce. It's okay if you get a little bit of the rice water in there, that's fine, it'll help thicken up. And I'm going to gently toss my noodles with my vegetables and my pad thai sauce. Oh, it's such a pretty color. I don't know if you can see that. So I'm gently just incorporating my sauce into my noodles. And then I'm going to taste it. Do I need more soy sauce? Do I need a little bit of regular salt? It's up to you. It's time to really make sure refine the palate. But look at that. That is such a beautiful stir fry with noodles. Can you see that? So far, my noodles are complete. My dish is complete. I'm going to chop up my cashew nuts. I'm just using a pivot just to crush them a little bit. I don't want them so small. I want a little crunch, a little bite to my noodles. So I'm pretty much liking to chop them once or twice so they become like 3 or 4 pieces from one cashew. Take that, put that in my serving bowl. Move that to the side. All right, I'm going to get my plate. Oh, once again, I'm going to move this. Remove my paper towels that had the chicken on there. Clean up my station a little bit. Take my plate. The best part of the evening, I get to sample it. Oh, before I do, what I want to do is add a little bit of freshness to my pad thai. So the lime that I used originally for the zest, I'm going to just put it on top of my pad thai just to bring some freshness to it. brings all the flavors together, because what you have on your palette right now, you have fish sauce, you have soy sauce, you have the tamarind, and you want that acid to infuse it and to align all those flavors so it becomes one profile of the pad thai sauce. All right. For the purpose of the demonstration, I'm going to just start plating, but what I would typically do, leave it on the stove for about 5 minutes so my sauce does become more like a glaze and it coats my noodles. You taste it. Now it's hot. It's delicious. I'm going to add a little soy sauce to it. So I do want a little bit more of that flavor. What was that? It might have been like a teaspoon or two. All right. There we go. There. Get my plate. Vegetables, make sure you get some egg. There's beautiful vegetables from your stir fry. Sprinkle a little bit of my cilantro. If I had Thai basil, I would add Thai basil. And my nuts. Put a little lime on there. Just like, and there you go, ladies. We have pad thai. Yay!
I'm so upset that I don't get to taste it, Susie, because I know how good it is.
I invite all of you to my kitchen in Austin. I will make pad thai for you.
Yay! We'll be back for sure.
I am so happy to present this to you because once again, it's a great dish to have at the end of the week to utilize what you have in your pantry. Nothing goes to waste. Even if your proteins have already been cooked, just have them reheated and to absorb that pad thai sauce so it gets the infusion. I mean, it's just amazing. And with that lime, to have that, it just feels like you're in a Thai restaurant or in Thailand or in just this environment. It's so fresh. The notes are so fresh and the colors, it's gorgeous, just gorgeous. This is why I cook. This is it. I love it.
Yeah, it kind of meets all of the senses. It's the taste, it's the smell, it's the sight, it's everything that you want it to be.
It is, and you have your sweetness, you have your saltiness, you have the bite of the broccoli. You're going to have some tooth to your food. The noodles are going to be that soft noodle flavor, and you have the nuts for the crunch. I mean, you really get an explosion in your mouth with each bite.
Yeah, absolutely. Susie, you used chicken for this dish tonight, and I know in preparing for this, we also talked about alternative proteins. Any tips for using tofu with this recipe?
Great question. Yes. So I would use a hard tofu and I would remove the tofu and put either a tea towel on the bottom and top or some paper towels, put a plate on top of it and weight it down because you want to have all that water drained. And then I would dice my tofu and then I would fry the tofu up just like my chicken. So it gets that nice golden brown color. And then I would cook my vegetables, add my noodles, and then add my tofu last. That would be one thing that I would do because it's already cooked. I don't want it to get too soft. I want it to hold its cube structure. And in order to do that, it would be one of my last items that I put into my stir fry or with the pad thai.
Awesome. So you were talking about frying there. One of the questions that was asked is, what is a good substitute oil with a high smoke point if you don't have grapeseed oil?
Oh, canola oil. That would be fine as well. If you wanted to use almond oil, I would caution on almond oil a little bit because it does have that essence of almond. So you'll be changing your profile just a little bit. But canola oil would be a great alternative to a vegetable oil.
Awesome.
And I like to go to Costco. I get the really big containers of it. Or you can go to an international market and the grapeseed oils are really, come in large containers. And then I store it in my little bottle, and I keep the rest of my pantry until I need to refill. So, and that's what I do a lot with my spices too. Take the spices, put them in smaller containers and store them in the freezer to preserve them.
Yeah. Suze, I know one of the things that we all marveled at when we watched you do this demo was the putting the rice noodles in the water and just it off to the side. Do you generally do it for the same length of time with pasta as you would with the rice noodles, or is it a little bit longer?
Good question. No, it would be longer with the rice noodles because you have the gluten in there. So you want to break that down. So you may have to actually bring the water temperature back up by just adding some more hot water, but that could take up to typically for an hour. And it'd be al dente. So it'd be great. So if you want to toss that back into your marinara sauce to absorb the flavors, you know, with whatever you're making, or your Alfredo sauce, that's a good time to put it back into your saute pan, incorporate it with the sauce, bring it to a simmer, let it just rest there a little bit, and it should get to that nice, like, what I call it, it's called tooth. It's this bite that you put in there that you can feel a little tension, but it's not hard or crispy. It just gives you that texture. And that's how I like my noodles. I just don't want them mushy, you know, where all the gluten's there or they're sticking together. So just a really good way to keep that or prevent that from happening by overcooking them.
Yeah. So the question was asked about adding bean sprouts.
Yes. As I would add my bean sprout as a topper with my basil or my cilantro. I could add green onions if I wanted to slice my green onions. I could have that as a topper. Bean sprouts would be wonderful because what I like about the bean sprouts is it has that water base. So when you bite into it, it's the warmth of the pad thai to that coolness and spark of that water coming out of that bean sprout. It's a nice texture and temperature difference. I don't know. It's hard to explain, even though it's not coming from the refrigerator, it just has so much water content. It's a nice contrast. It adds to the dish.
Yeah, awesome. I know there was a lot of questions about that amazing stove that you've got back there.
Oh, okay. It's a Viking. It's a 46-inch Viking with a grill and a griddle and a 4-top burner. And then I have 2 ovens, a smaller oven and a larger oven. It's a blessing. I'm very blessed. This is, whew, I love it.
Susie, I know you just moved into that house not too long ago, right?
That's true. Yes. It's a good story. It's a funny story, actually. My husband and I became empty nesters. So my 22-year-old son just graduated from school this past fall or spring, and my daughter went to Baylor, is going to Baylor. And so we thought we're going to be cool adults and live downtown Austin in a condo and sell the house, and we don't have a yard to think about, and it's just going to be us walking our dog downtown, and we're going to be like really cool older hipsters, right? The pandemic hits, so I have a 1,100 square foot condo with 2 cats, a dog, 2 young adults, and my husband, and we're all fighting over the Wi-Fi because they need to finish school. My husband needs to work. And my daughter and I would go in my car and we would drive around. That way we would share the Wi-Fi and space. We needed space because the family was getting so close. We needed to give people space. And it was like one of those wishing well bones, you'd go and you were like, where is the water? Where is the water? We would do that with the car and go through the neighborhood. Where is our home? Where are our people? Where does it feel like home? And we found this house and it needed a new roof and foundation. And we're like, that's for the writers. That's for us. Yep, we'll do that. So it's been a year almost, and the house is no longer a project, and it's feeling like a home. So I'm blessed to be here.
Well, it's a beautiful, stunning kitchen, and it's absolutely perfect for you.
Thank you.
Cooking demos.
Yeah, I love it. It's really good. I mean, and I love how bright it is. It's white. I'm really blessed.
Awesome. Well, we are so thankful you were able to be here with us. The leader team will get you the recipes if you're asking for it. We are also going to share Susie's website so you can go and communicate with her. If you have questions later on, she's happy to answer them. Susie, from the bottom of all of our hearts, I know that we fell in love with you in Lake Austin. We will be back to see you again, but thank you so much for your time this evening.
Thank you.
To train all of us and to give us all these amazing tips.
Oh, thank you. It's been my pleasure. I've enjoyed every minute of it. And please, email me if you have some questions. I'll be more than happy to answer questions in regards to knife skills or why I did a certain technique or what type of options can we use, substitutions. I'm there as a resource for you. So please use me.
We sure will. Thank you. And good night, everybody.
Good night, everybody. Thank you.